Guess what today is? Today is Valentine's Day. Some people love this date and some people hate it. Regardless of where you're at, if the pressure you feel to be in a relationship or you're in a relationship and maybe you're not, maybe it needs a breath of fresh air. Or maybe whatever you want to fill in the blank of your idea of what a relationship is. Remember, the one thing every relationship that you have has in common is you. So I want to talk today with relationship experts. So we get to talk today with Mary Jo Rapini. She is an author. She is a psychotherapist. She is a speaker, a counselor, and a relationship expert. And I thought, what better way to celebrate Valentine's Day than to talk about relationships and having the relationship of your dreams.
And when you need a friend, you can count on me. I'll be right here waiting for you.
Hi, my name is Lillian McDermott, and I am a certified life coach and the host of the Lillian McDermott radio show, Classroom. If this is the first time that you're joining the Classroom, please know I've been waiting for you. This is a safe place where you can go when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide natural ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening, as well as my viewing friend, will feel empowered to embrace a new truth and live the life of your dreams. Well, sometimes you might get tired of hearing from me. So from time to time, we bring the experts in the classroom so that we can learn from them as well. And so today, we're looking at Valentine's Day. There's all kinds of relationships, but today we're going to be talking about the relationship of our dreams. And since it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, I am grateful that Mary Jo Rapini is here to do just that. Welcome, Mary Jo, to the classroom.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here.
Me too. And when I started following you, when I started looking at your page, I thought, this would be a great conversation to have, especially with relationships. As a relationship expert, share how your journey went to become a relationship expert.
Well, it's been really, nothing's a straight line. Everything is moving zigzag all over. A doesn't go to B, A goes sometimes to Z and then back. I started out my career as a nurse, and I was up in northern Wisconsin, where I'm from. I met my hubby, and he was a physician doing a internship there. And we ended up getting married, and I knew pretty early into the career that that's not where I was going to stop. In other words, I wasn't really passionate about nursing. So I decided I would go back to school, and I went back to school and did undergraduate work because there were a few classes that I hadn't taken that I'd taken for nursing that weren't the same for psychology. And then I ended up moving with him for his residency after we were married. And I ended up doing all my graduate work in Houston. And that's where I live now. So basically, I've been licensed therapist since 1990, been doing it a long time, took several courses when we were in Denver for a while. We lived there for a year and a half. It's where I had my daughter. And so I got to go to a sexuality school there for psychologists so that I could bring in the component of sexuality, because it's very hard to do relationships, marriage, or even individual therapy without understanding humans as sexual beings and what happens in relationships, and in a healthy relationship, how you can safeguard and prevent problems within infidelity or things that can actually harm your relationship. So the sexual component was very important, and I truly love what I do every day.
I could tell. I am really excited to have this conversation, including sexuality, because I think that that's one of the topics in a relationship that for some reason people are fearful. They don't want to offend. They don't want to start an argument. And so it'll be great to maybe go down that path and see how a conversation of increased intimacy. We're not just talking about sex, we're just talking about intimacy that is so important in a relationship as well. But as I mentioned earlier, one of the things that we stop working on when we're in a relationship, like when I coach somebody who's single and their goal is to be in a relationship, we work on that. We work on that. But I ask them to not be in a relationship until they feel that they're at a better place in their life. Because what happens is you start working on yourself and you start feeling really good. And all of a sudden you get into a relationship and then you start focusing on the other person. So
Mhm.
instead of yourself, you just stop. And it's like that growth process is so important. So let's talk about self-love when it comes to relationships.
And that's really important, Lillian, and I'm glad you said it, because the most important relationship you'll ever have is the one you have with yourself, because that relationship depicts every other relationship you'll have.
Mhm.
If that relationship is broken or hurt or still has baggage from your childhood that you're carrying around, you're going to take that into every relationship, whether it's a friendship, family, or an intimate partner. They're going to get a look at what your baggage is, what you haven't resolved. So I think it's so important that we always go back to self-awareness, even in marriage. I've been married a long time, and I can tell you when there's a problem, we have a tendency to project it onto our partner. Oh, if only he would change, if only she would do this. But rarely is that accurate or realistic. It always starts with, what are we doing? What are we feeling? And what is that feeling causing us to do or feel toward our partner?
Beautiful. But if somebody's having um, these moments where you say, well, I'd be happy if my partner would do blank.
Mm.
And the partner says, well, I'd be happy if they would do blank. And
Mhm.
so let's fill in that blank. Let's fill in,
Mhm.
how is that conversation going to be productive when you're expecting the other person to change, as opposed to how can we help each other grow?
Well, and I think that is actually, you've got the first step in all of growth. It's two people realizing, if I can change something I do to please my partner, then that's going to be better for the relationship. It's going to be better for me too. So if you have what your partner wants and you have what you want, and you're able to express that and exchange that conversation, so you're each working on serving the other person, that's going to be much more viable and helpful for the depth of your relationship than if you just start getting defensive and saying, well, no, you change first. Or, people, we get into all these little nitpicky things. And when I say we, I mean, doesn't matter if you're a therapist, doesn't matter who you are. When you're married, you're going to be in the same situation with everybody else, because that's what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, Mary Jo, my parents been married 70 years. And
Wow.
my dad is 93, and my mom
Wow.
is going to be 90 this year. And
That's it.
I grew up listening to them bicker. I grew up listening to them, threaten and say, I'll change when
Mhm.
you change. And they would just like threaten one another. But when they loved each other, it
Mhm.
was harmonious in the home. And so I learned from my greatest teachers, my parents, that I don't want that. I don't want to be bickering with my spouse though the whole time. I want to work in alignment with my partner. I've been married also a long time, maybe not as long as my parents, I know that for a fact, but 30 years. We'll be celebrating 30
Wow.
years this year.
Congrats.
Thank you. Thank you. How long have you been
Mhm.
married?
I never say it because I don't want to jinx it, but it's a long time. And I say that very honestly, because I've heard people say how long they were married, and then before I know,
Really?
they're in my office and they're miserable. Because it's not the number of years,
Yeah.
it's more, what are those number of years doing to your heart and your
Yeah.
soul?
Yeah. Well, interestingly enough that you would say that, because I said to my husband, who we've been married, like I said, 30, will be 30 years. I said to him, I've seen my parents. They're
Mhm.
still together, and my mom has advanced dementia, and my dad is very frail right now. My mom is strong, I mean, but still,
Yeah,
she can't have a conversation more than 2 minutes. I want to be married till I take my last breath, but I want
right.
to be happily married.
Yeah.
That is when he enrolled in that, and we were able to take that journey together. When I grow, he grows. When he grows, I grow. We go willingly. I don't think I've ever there's one time that when I was going through personal growth that I felt I had to drag him there. But once he realized, I was concerned because we always say he would jump into a volcano for me. Someone said that a long time ago. Your husband would jump into a volcano for you. And I'm like, I don't know if I would jump in the volcano. I'd probably have to think it through all the way through because of the kids and, what am I? But anyway, I would jump in a volcano for him, honestly, and to help him. But I said to him, I want to be happily married and
Mhm.
whatever that means. And so it's interesting that the only time that he really bucked was when I was seeking my own personal growth. I had reached a point in my life where I thought, there's got to be more. And so I started doing that. And when I came back, it was a new language for me. It was a new attitude for me. And it scared him. It
Yeah.
scared him because my friend who invited me to this journey, uh, when she got back, she divorced her husband. And I
Oh,
think that's what was holding him back. He didn't want to go into this place where
yeah,
I'm gonna have to really, have to walk away from this. He didn't want to do that. I don't want to do that either. And
right.
because we have that same goal, we were able to write love letters to one another. And I explained to him why this was important to me, and
Mhm.
he explained to me why it was important that he not go. He
Yeah,
felt like I
right.
was pushing him, and he did not want to go reluctantly. He wanted to go willingly. And what
Mhm.
I was doing to him was forcing him.
Right.
And that's how he perceived me. And once we were done reading these letters, we both had tears in our eyes and we took this journey together. And so
Mhm.
that is what I believe a happy relationship is, even when we are in disagreement with something, to be able to have that conversation. So when you have, and I noticed that when people are married 20 and 25 years, those are
Mhm.
dangerous times. I
Mhm.
don't know. Have you discovered that 20, 25 years as dangerous times?
Yeah, well, actually the most dangerous time is the first 2 years. That's when the majority of people get divorced. 20 and 25 years are usually a little bit calmer, depending. I go more by the age of the client, but
Okay.
I just did an interview yesterday with a radio station, and they were discussing the gray divorces, those divorces that the couple is over 65 years old.
Mm.
And it is true, we're seeing a big influx of those right now. And we're seeing, they're usually initiated by the woman. And women initiate most divorces anyway. I think the statistic is something like 78% or 80.
Wow. Wow.
So
Oh.
I think what happens is when couples raise their children and they forget to date their partner, to keep talking and keep growing together, like you were referring to, that when that they start putting all their emotional love and commitment into the child, they no longer feel close to their partner. They're totally disconnected. So when that child goes to school, there's no buffer at home. There's nobody who they have to stay together for. Some people have a dog and they do use that dog as a buffer, but for the most part, they feel like they may live a long life. And do they want to continue this charade that is called their marriage? I mean, are they going to stay married because of the number of years they've been together? And a lot of them are saying, no, I'm not. Although I would really caution people that that's a terrible way to think about your life at 65. There's always an option that you can get help. You can go to a coach, you can go to a therapist. It isn't live in a bad marriage or get a divorce. It's live in a bad marriage, or take classes or go to your coaching where you have the opportunity to grow together. Take that as a courageous step. That's much more courageous and wise than getting a divorce.
So true, so true. And I always, when somebody comes to me that wants to get a divorce, I do everything to help them work things out. There's lots of courses out there that people
Me
can
too.
take. My husband and I have gone through them as well.
Yes.
And we're talking about maybe doing a couples retreat that we can help couples that want to just bring the breath of fresh air into it. There are couples who have, maybe addiction is involved or abuse is involved or something like that. And I always say,
Yeah.
whenever there's addiction and abuse, that's where I draw the line. And I say,
Mhm.
okay, you need to kind of distance yourself from that person. But
I,
when we're talking about a typical marriage that we see mostly where people just kind of lose that focus that this
Mhm.
person is the most important person. uh,
Exactly.
when we lose that, that's when it
Mhm.
happens. Yeah.
That's right. And I think that comes from knowing your partner so well that you begin kind of taking them for granted rather than saying, if you invested as much money and time into your partner as you would in a new partner, you would be amazed what happened to your marriage. Your marriage would just totally blossom. It would be so much lighter, so much more fun. And couples want that. They want to enjoy their relationship. They want to be in a marriage that's mentoring for their kids. This is what true love looks like.
Yeah, it's true, it's true. And one question I always ask, another question, or maybe a statement, is that
Mhm.
even though you're getting a divorce, and although we're trying to talk about relationships that are good and how to build that relationship, but
Right.
sometimes we need to start from the ground up. And we
Mhm.
develop some bad habits, we take people for granted. And one of the questions that I ask them is, do you realize that you're going to be tied if there's children, if there are no kids, go off and do your thing. But
Yeah.
if there are children involved that are used to the traditions, that are used to this, whatever it is, then I always say, you're going to be connected to that person for the rest of your life, because it's not just graduation from college and off you go. It's when they get married, they have children
Right.
and birthdays and all that stuff. You're gonna see this person. Might as well work on it. The devil you know is better than the devil you don't know, because you know how long, when you're in a marriage for a while, whether it's been a short time, before
Mhm.
2 years or 70 years, like my parents, which they are the way they are right now. There's no, I mean, I know they love each other. I know through 70 years, I know they love each other. And this show is dedicated to my parents, by the way,
Oh,
because,
that's good.
because good, bad, and the ugly, we saw it all. And through it all, they stayed together. But to look at the fact that you are going to be tied to that person, and you're trading that for what needs to work on, for door number 3, where you could be attracting the same person to your life because you didn't deal with the first person in your life. Does that make sense?
That makes total sense. And, I think the other component is when people are in the middle of an affair, they don't understand that their brain chemistry is reacting the same as it does if you're addicted to something.
Mm,
So you could even say that the person who is cheating is totally being duped by their own need for endorphins and dopamines, because that's the anxiety they have. That's what they're feeling. They need this person. They misinterpret the stimuli. They say the reason I love this person so much, or I'm after this person so much, is this person is my soulmate. No, they're not. The reason you're after them is the dopamine being squirted all over in your brain
say
because
it as it is, Mary Jo. Say it
something
as it
it's true. You're just being totally duped and blindsided. And because of that, you're going to break up your family and do this to the people that love and rely on you the most. It's really cause for you to stop in your tracks and
Yeah,
step back
yeah,
and go, what am I doing?
yeah. And if you are hiding your actions,
Mm.
chances are you shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
And this was another deal that my husband and I did. Both of us traveled.
Mhm.
And I worked with a lot of men. I worked with doctors and lawyers. And we made a commitment. And I said, if you're traveling or if I'm traveling or whatever, and some cute little girl comes your way, give me a call and we'll have a great conversation. You and I will talk, because sometimes it's hiding those feelings inside. I remember working with lawyers, and eventually the conversation would come up, are you married? Yes, but are you happily married? Like, that makes a difference to me. Whether I'm
Right.
happily married or not married, I'm still married. And so
Mhm.
that would kind of like get me all riled up, and that would like that made me understand that this relationship was crossing over business to personal. And then I would come home that night and I'd hug my husband. I'm saying, I'm so glad that I'm coming home to you. It's like
Mhm.
it's to be able to be in tune with these feelings and share them with your partner instead of hiding them and
Yes.
keep them hidden. And
Mhm.
those emotional affairs that are happening, even if you're not cheating with the person, physically. Let's talk about emotional affairs. Let's kind of like start with the fact that these are the deal breakers, the things that kill our relationship, so that if we identify ourselves in any of this, it's time to stop. So go ahead. Any things that we could do?
Well, I think anytime that you're talking to someone that's the opposite sex, and it's, you can always play on the word intimate. I've seen people rationalize everything, but the truth is we all know. Like, would you be okay if your partner did this? If you have to put the screen down or shut the phone off or get up and go outside to message someone or call someone because you don't want your partner to see it, then that's a clear sign you've crossed a line. And in my line of work, I see more splits with emotional affairs than physical ones. And the reason is because physical ones, they're not as deep. In other words, it's about sex. The emotional ones go on. And usually when you're involved in one, you've already started deterioration to your brain chemistry. It's already calling the shots, and you can't get this person, out of your heart. And this is what causes the problems. Before long, you're lying to not only the person you're cheating with, you're lying to your partner. The whole relationship is based on a lie. You're no longer free the way you were. You're tied to two people now. And basically, you're going to tell yourself a lot of lies, along with the lies you're telling other people that used to believe in you and trust you. And once the trust is broken, it's really a bugger to try and build it back.
Yeah, it takes a lifetime of trust to
Mhm.
build and a
Yes.
second to lose it. And that is true. And it's interesting that when you talk about these emotional affairs, that
Mhm.
they're the ones that end the relationship
Right.
sooner than a physical affair. Not that we're advocating that you have a physical affair. I just
Right.
want to make sure that nobody's getting like a pass here. But when you think about that, why would you want to start? Like, if your relationship ends, why would you want to start with an affair? Regardless, what do you want to start a relationship? Because if you cheated on them or they cheated on their spouse, they'll cheat on you. Don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm always curious, and I have a lot of, the other man or the other woman writing to me, telling me that they're dating a married person. I'm like, you can't date a married person. They're already married and dating their spouse, and they've got this illusion that somehow they're better. This will never happen to them. And I can tell you, it is going to happen to you, and you are going to get cheated on. If you think about it, they're cheating on you now
That's
with
right.
their partner, because most people who are cheating with someone are still having sex with their spouse. And no matter what they tell you, if they tell you their spouse is crazy, or they're worried they're going to, commit suicide, or the other numerous reasons, that is just for the liar. That's for the cheater to tell you so that you will give them more time. And they'll work that for years. I've seen couples who have had affairs for 20 years and they've never gotten married. So I just think of it as such a waste. However, some people who date or try to date married people, it's because they have an underlying intimacy disorder. And if you have an intimacy disorder, you don't want someone of your own. You just give out little pieces of intimacy. You don't really want anybody to ever really fully know you. And that comes from a deep trauma when you were a child and you probably didn't deserve it. But once again, it is your responsibility. And if you allow it to limit the life that you're supposed to live the way it is, then, you know, it's just another sign that you're not taking responsibility for yourself.
Well, I hope that you woke up any woman or any man that is engaging conversations that are going to lead to, I have to tell you, gosh, this memory just came, Mary Jo. I was, you know, when you work out at the gym, when you go work out at the gym, you know, guys come and talk and girls come and talk, and this guy became like, he would like, we kind of became friends at the gym, kind of that. And one day he was doing abs with me. He wanted to do abs with me and he wanted to do this. And I was like going up, you know how you put your legs and then you go down and you go up like that?
Yes.
And he said to me, he's married, I'm married. I don't keep that hidden. Everybody knows I'm married.
Yes.
And as I'm coming up, he says, well, when are you and I are going to go out to lunch? And as I came up, I went, never. like that growl, like that growl came out of me, like, never. Why would it? What do you mean? Is your wife coming with you? Because I'll invite my husband if that's what you want to do. You know, because and that right there, I realized something as innocent. We've got to be guarded. And I went home and I said to my husband, "Can you believe this happened?" Now, I couldn't believe it happened because we were just friends. And so that idea that you can be friends with the opposite sex works if you're couple friends. Like, you know, someone that I'm bringing into the marriage and they're bringing their wife and my husband, they're getting to know each other because now we have a male-female bond for work or something else that we do. But when he asked me that, I haven't thought of that in a long time. And with that energy, never. So that kind of like pushed him away. And I'm like, no, listen, we work out here and that is it. You know, if you
I mean, I'm telling you, that is so important. I have couples, especially right now, couples planning to get married, and one of them has a friend. And in one of the cases I'm thinking specifically, the guy has a friend that's a woman, and she's been a friend of theirs forever. He makes it clear that this woman has problems, that she's has a tendency toward feeling neglected. Maybe she grew up in a family that had a lot of avoidant issues. But anyway, she purposely tries to sabotage the new fiance by putting him in situations that are really precarious. And she does it from a manipulative stance. Like, she knows if she says things, because he's such a good friend, he'll want to do it, but it's going to make his new fiance really nervous and very insecure. And obviously, she has come back and said, listen, I don't like you hanging out with this woman. I don't like her. I think she's inappropriate. I think her boundaries are inappropriate. And it's true. I have to agree. I think so too. And he can see it. But he's very passive with telling her because he doesn't want to hurt her feelings. So I'm going to encourage you all, if it comes to something like that, choose your partner, choose your spouse, hurt their feelings. If someone is that aggressive or manipulative that they would ever do something that would hurt you, like in a relationship, they're
They're
not
not
your
a
friend
friend.
anyway.
No,
They
they're
don't
not.
want what's in your best interest.
Yeah.
They want what's in their best interest. So the fact that you would even call them a friend is someone who only wants the best for you. If you say, I'm in love with this person, your friend would do whatever they
Yeah.
could to encourage that,
Yes.
support it.
And befriend the girlfriend. And
Yes,
befriend the girlfriend, because I had a life before I met my husband. I have guy
right,
friends that I've had for a long time. Now we might text once in a while, or but we don't. If they wanted to get together, they would come to visit with my husband. But it's never happened that way. These are relationships that I've had in the past, and for a birthday or whatever, I'll get a text. That's about it. But
right.
outside of that, anything that you want to have, like a relationship where you can spend some time with them, you need to include the girlfriend or the guy friend, and then have like a couples date, because that
That's
to
right.
me that makes sense. But some people get so stuck in being right about protecting this relationship that they forget that the relationship that really matters is the relationship, the intimate relationship that you have with a person that you're going to get married to, or that you're married to. So we lose our sense of priorities, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. And I think it's important that everybody listening to this understands that no matter who you are or what kind of relationship you're in, if someone does something that, if you're with someone, if you care about someone and they do something that betrays that your trust, that hurts. I mean, for example, I get these kinds of issues all the time about the betrayal of trust with couples who are polyamorous or in situationships. And they're with like 3 or 4 people in a bedroom. But if somebody, that one of the people they really like, if he or she goes out with someone else, they are terribly hurt. And it's like, what are you
Wow.
thinking? Like, what in the heck? If you really want that person, then become monogamous. But what I'm really saying is betrayal hurts. And you don't have to be beautiful or however your status is. Everybody can be betrayed. You take the most beautiful actress, the most beautiful actors, it doesn't matter, because it's not about the looks. So if you're telling yourself, well, it's just because I'm so good looking, or I'm better looking than his wife or her husband, forget about it. They're not worried about that. They're not even thinking like that. They would be with somebody else if they were as easy and maybe advantageous as you are, because at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to.
And
Especially for women. Are
yeah.
they going to be better for me? Are they going to have a better lifestyle so I can be more secure? Those are the things women look for. And with men, they don't care. They'll date down. It's the right person at the right time giving them attention. And no matter who the cheater is, we now know part of their personality profile is they have a low self-esteem. And so their character is flawed in the area that their boundaries won't stay strong if there's a chance that somebody likes them, because they feel so badly about themselves, or they don't feel worthy, that if somebody finds them attractive or wants to be with them, they follow. And
Wow.
at the end, when you take everything else away, that's a truth.
And you know what? Truth is truth. And that, I always have said to my husband, to my children, hurt me with the truth. Do not hurt me with a lie. A truth I can handle. I can deal with that. We can work together. We can do whatever it is that we can do. But a lie, that's a betrayal, first of all. And second of all, I can forgive the person, but that doesn't mean I have to trust them. See, we confuse trust and forgiveness. We put them in the same thing, and it's not. You can forgive, but you can also say, you're going to earn my trust back. And that with somebody who has low self-esteem, that they don't understand that if you have to
Right.
forgive and forget. No, that is not true. It's not real. Unless you have dementia, forgive and forget is not even an option.
Right.
It's forgive, and then you start growing the growing process of trust. And if that can't happen, then they don't deserve you, and they didn't earn
Mhm.
you. So we need to have these conversations that people start thinking about, what am I doing to myself?
Exactly, exactly. And Lillian, we need to have the conversation before we get married. Like, we can't possibly talk about how to prevent cheating if we don't do it before we're married.
Yeah,
Like, where are
interesting.
your boundaries? How are
Yeah.
we gonna put in obstacles so that you won't be able to just chat away on your phone without me knowing? And if someone wants to marry you, they should be part of that. They want that too, because you're basically making the relationship secure so you can both feel intimate, and that you can confide in each other, and it's not going to go any further. It's the ability to be naked in who you are. And I think that's getting destroyed because we don't understand that unless those boundaries are so tight, it's impossible to be truly vulnerable.
That's true. That's true. So I want to take a little shift there before, because I know that all of us know how to destroy our marriages. I'm
Yeah.
sure we all know how to do that. But I do want to spend some time talking about how to build it up again. But before I do that, I want to shift a little bit, and I want to encourage you to go to whenyouneedafriend.com. Whenyouneedafriend.com is where we take 100% ownership for our life, the good, the bad, the ugly. And so go there. And while you're there, please subscribe if you haven't done so. Like and follow on social media, and podcasts, wherever it is that you found me. Please make sure that you also like and follow there. And while you're at whenyouneedafriend.com, you will find that there are free ways for you to grow as well. We have workshops that you can tune into. We also have the I Am the Solution Natural Health Summit on April 6, 2024. Enter code Lily001 to get $24 off your price of admission. We'll have VIP and also regular admission. We are going to have wonderful speakers like Dr. Joel Furman, Dr. Jennifer Grameth, Dr. Renee Hahn, Brendan Legal. We're going to have myself as a mindset coach. And let's see, who else am I leaving out? Oh, Dr. Thomas Levy. How can I leave Thomas Levy out of this occasion? World renowned. We're coming together in Rockledge, Florida, to learn some new truths about natural health and some of the ways that you can improve your life that you didn't even know were possible. So join us and bring a friends, because friends and your spouse and people in your inner circle that learn together grow together. So go to whenyouneedafriend.com. There's a pop-up, click it and learn some more. And while you're there, make sure you check out my sponsors, because they help the classroom grow. Support them the way that they're supporting the classroom. Then you can go to the Shop Now bag, and in the Shop Now bag, there are Lilly approved products from head to toe, including pain management naturally and how to be pain-free without using a pill. And as you know, my registered service mark is you could take a pill or you can take a responsibility. It's not that I'm against the pill, it's that I'm for doing everything we possibly can to live the life of your dreams. And a last way that you can help the classroom grow is that you can become a donor, an enrolled student in the classroom, whether it's $1 or $1,000 a month, a one-time donation, whatever the case is, it all helps grow the classroom. And whether it's your time, your talent, your treasure, everything is of value. So please give and give generously. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything that you do to keep this classroom going. Today, we have Mary Jo Rapini. She is a speaker, a counselor. She has a YouTube channel that you can go there and learn about relationships. She's a relationship expert. And I really have enjoyed my conversation with you, Mary Jo. You can go to maryjorapini.com. If you're a subscriber, all you have to do is click on your name when you get your blog this Sunday, or when you got your blog last Sunday, and then it'll take you right to her class or her website as well. Anything that you're doing, Mary Jo, that you would like to promote in your field?
Yes, well, I have a YouTube channel and it's my name and then YouTube. And I have on there, there's inexpensive homework that you can download. The YouTube channels, the actual videos are 5 to 10 minutes. I do one every day. And it's a nice way if you have the homework that you could work through issues completely free. Well, I'll buy the homework, which is $1.99 each. I also am running a pre-engagement course for 5 couples, and it starts in April. No, I'm sorry, it starts in March. And we're going to run this group on the premise that you aren't engaged yet, that you are thinking about being engaged. Because once you go to pre-marriage counseling, you're already engaged. The in-laws are in it. Everybody's preparing. Money is invested. This is way before any of that. I just want to help you make sure that this is what you want. I think the most important person choice you will ever make in your life is who you marry. And I want to help young men and women or older men and women find that person for themselves. So
I love it. I love it. The Catholic Church does a great job at doing like a marriage encounter, pre-engagement. But when you go to that, you're so in love with your partner that you really don't listen to all the warnings and all the talks that are there trying to wake you up to
that's
some of these
right.
choices. So, it's good that you're doing this. It's could save their life in the future and some of the
That's
choices
right.
that they can make.
And I think so much our culture is kind of inundated us with the idea that it's okay to get a divorce if if you're not happy. But we've forgotten all about plan C, and that is to take classes, take retreats, do something. Instead of just going to counseling as a last ditch effort, get involved in your marriage. Start being the catalyst for change by changing some things about yourself that are not healthy. When you're willing to take that step, you not only are telling your partner, I'm still invested in us, but you're telling yourself, you know what? I took a vow and my word matters. What I say matters. And I'm going to leave that as the legacy for my children and for my spouse rather than just giving up. Because I know a lot of people go to their divorced parents and ask them for marriage advice. If you're already divorced, how are you possibly going to help your child hang in there and try new things? More than likely, you're not, because you don't have those skills. That's not the skill set you chose. You chose another one, and your child got to live in what you created after that divorce. So it's just something I want you to think about, and rather than get defensive or say all the reasons why it isn't true, just question, could it be true? Could I actually be a catalyst for change? Because I'm telling you, the answer is yes, you can.
I love it. I love it. It's funny, funny. I'm getting all these memories. And I do want to spend time talking about how to improve, and maybe I shouldn't even talk about this, but some people walk away too soon.
Yes.
When my husband and I were married 7 years, I walked away from the relationship because I felt that my opinion didn't matter, my voice didn't matter. And my husband really saw that I was at the end of my rope.
Right.
And he said, just give me 6 months. Just give me 6
Mhm.
months. And I did. I gave him 6
Mhm.
months. And the interesting thing is that after 6 months, I renewed his contract for another 6 months. And
Great.
that was many years ago. And I always say that had I walked away and not given another chance to my marriage, we wouldn't have celebrated all these years of
Mhm.
togetherness and learning and growing and how to work together. So maybe I need to say this for some of you that are out there that maybe are wanting to walk away. If you walk away too soon, you will live life with regret. You won't know. But if you walk away and you go, I gave it my best shot, I knew that this was the best thing I could do, and it didn't work. Because you can't drag the other person. The fact that my husband was willing to work with what I needed, not, you don't treat others the way you want to be treated. That does not work.
Yeah,
But what works is you treat others the way they want to be treated.
right.
And that is something that we miss. And so that's a tip for those of you who are in marriage and you want to learn how to boost your relationship, is ask the other partner, how do you want me to act in this way, or do this for you? How would you like me to serve you? As a person who loves you, a person who lives with you, and hear what the other person has to say, and listen and take notes
Yes,
and take notes.
yes.
So because I want to shift, I want to talk about how we can take relationships and make them even better. What are some of your tips?
Well, I have several. The first one is I really want you to date your partner. Once a week, take turns. Whoever orchestrates it one week, the other partner does the next week. You'll learn something about your partner. It doesn't have to be real involved. It can be a simple date, but make sure you take turns so that each person is being represented. Do not turn off to sex. Sex is important. It's not the most important. The most important of the 6 types of intimacy you need to incorporate into your marriage is emotional intimacy. That's where you can both be vulnerable and feel safe. But sex is important. And if you don't feel like sexual penetration one night, then what I'm suggesting is you find something else you can do that will make your partner feel like you love them, intimate. Maybe they'd be okay with a massage. Maybe they'd be okay with snuggling. Maybe they'd be okay with just holding each other, lying next to each other naked in bed at night. Whatever it is, if your partner wants sex and you are too tired or you're just not in the mood, it's rejecting if you say that consistently. But it's not rejecting if you say, you know what, I really love you, but I'm just exhausted or I'm just stressed. Can we snuggle instead? Can I give you a massage instead? Offer things that you know they like to take up that physical energy. The other thing is you must practice forgiveness. Forgiveness is, none of us would be here today without the grace of God and the grace of our partner. So you have to remind yourself your partner's not perfect. They're never going to be perfect. You aren't either. There's times you've been graced, and forgive them. I'm not saying you should forgive them for everything. I'm not saying forgiveness means you go along with the act that hurt you or that it was okay. I'm saying you forgive yourself to free yourself from that burden. And if you're the one asking forgiveness, I think it's really important that you change your behavior. Whatever you did that offended your partner, you can't ask them to forgive you if you continue to do the same thing over and over. Because basically, you're telling them, I'm sorry I hurt you, but you're not important enough to change for. And that's a terribly hurtful thing to tell your partner.
It is. It really is. It's not, and some people, like, I don't know how many times I've got people that come to coaching and they'll say, I want you to change my partner. I want you to do,
Right.
I need for him to see this, and I need and I always say, I only work with the people who show up. If you can bring them in, we'll work together. But another thing is that a way that we dismiss our partner is by saying they're a narcissist. They might be, I don't know. If you can
Right.
get them in, I can't work with a narcissist, but if you can get them in, maybe they're not a narcissist. So, diagnosing our partners is a killer, but, to be able to communicate. And when you were talking about negotiating with your partner, in the times that you're tired and maybe this is a season that you are not feeling well or you're tired, it's good to have other things. I love that. But have that conversation before your partner wants to be intimate with you
Mhm.
and have that conversation. If you say no and the other partner feels hurt, then have the conversation as soon as you possibly can, because we don't know, we don't have a script, we don't know what we don't know. And
That's right.
so, but to dismiss it and say, oh, they're this or they're that,
Mhm.
I always say that, working on ourselves, when I work on myself, it's amazing how my partner looks so much better.
Right.
It's so we need to stop the blame and to
Mhm.
take the ownership of it and then work together to make it work. I love the always date your partners. Always date your partner. Having a date night is so important.
Yeah.
Robert and I love to reminisce of the
Mhm.
first date or the first time we saw each other or the first story. And I always tell an exaggerated, when people say, how do you meet? I always tell this exaggerated story, which makes him laugh. And laughter is so important.
Yeah.
I really do believe that the couples that laugh together are much happier than couples that are constantly being critical. What do you say about um, the 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 partner, the critical partner? What do you say to the critical partner that can't understand why their spouse doesn't want to be with them or doesn't want to do things with them?
Well, I think for one thing, when you're critical, it's usually because you're reacting to triggers that you aren't aware of. So if you don't have self-awareness over your triggers, it will seem like everybody is attacking you or criticizing you. And then when you're in a relationship, oftentimes what you do is you do a flip into the victim role. And you're like, you're always attacking me. So now a conversation where your partner is trying to motivate you or ask you to do something turns into you being a victim. And that's just plain not taking responsibility for getting to know yourself, for not being able to know your triggers up front so you can express those to your partner. And then your partner can help create an atmosphere in your best relationship where you don't have to tiptoe around the triggers. There's certain things we all react to. We all have triggers. You're not unusual or broken because you have triggers. You're unusual or broken when you don't know your triggers and you expect other people to read your mind and know that that's a trigger of yours.
You know, so true, so true.
Yeah.
One of the things
Right.
I want to point out is having fun in the relationship. I
Mm,
think that we've become so serious. Now, our children are gone, our grandchildren are getting older. We've got great grandchildren now. And it's so funny that when we come together as a family, I love being with our family. But we need
mm,
to start focusing on our relationship with our spouse, our
yeah.
relationship with, and if you're not in a relationship and perhaps maybe your spouse has passed away, I wonder if this is a good day to do something to honor that person or to honor yourself if you're not with a partner. What would you say to someone who is single right now, whether they lost their spouse through divorce or death, or maybe you're not in a relationship? What are your words of wisdom for them?
Mhm. Well, what I always do is I like just having quiet time. I play their favorite song. I light a candle and I say a prayer. I think for me, any holiday that celebrates love is worthwhile participating.
Mm.
Whether you do it with a lot of people, a significant other, or by yourself. It's about giving love to whatever the memory is, the moment is, and being grateful for that. So
Yeah.
lighting a candle and listening to their music or your song, I think is a lovely way to pay them tribute.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Well, if you have some parting words, we have a couple of minutes left. What are some of your parting words that maybe we didn't cover that you would like to share?
Well, I'm not sure there are words we didn't share, but I would say I think the biggest investment you'll ever make is in the person you choose as your partner. And with that, I have invested my life. I believe in him. I believe in us. And, we have a deep faith, and that helps a lot. Shared couples who share a faith have an extra weapon during the hard times of life. It is just absolutely true. From the marriage research down to the individual couples who talk about it all the time.
Well, I think this has been so enlightening, and I hope and pray that for those of you who are out there and you're looking at how are you going to celebrate Valentine's Day today, honestly, Robert and I don't celebrate Valentine's Day. We celebrate every day. We celebrate every day, Valentine's Day. Some days we go out of our way, other days we just are low key. But the reality is that we need to love each other every day. And we need to figure out ways to be that smile for that other person if they've had a hard day, and just figure out how we can serve one another in love and lift the other person up whenever we can. But when you are upset, ask for a timeout, but always remember to ask for that time in where you can set the time and say, hey, we're not going to talk about it now, but can we talk about it? Let's call a truce. And there's my husband and I have done so many truce in our 30 plus years together. We've called truce because, sometimes we get so focused on the argument that we forget the true meaning of our relationship is to love one another and love our children and those we encounter in life. And so what is your tip for your relationship?
Well, I think being an act of service is the most important thing. And we both make sacrifices to make it work.
I love it.
We're creating something we both love being part of.
That's great. It's so nice to hear other couples, and that's a great thing to do, is hang out with other couples that are great, that you aspire to be with them.
That is magical. That's the most important thing.
It is. So thank you so much, Mary Jo Rapini, for coming onto the classroom and sharing your wisdom. I hope this is the first of many that you will join us.
Thank you so much, Lillian.
Thank you. And please remember, we'll be right here waiting for you. It's just as simple. Love is so much easier than hate. Love sets us free, and hate just holds us down. One of them is our ego, and the other one is our essence. Which one will you choose for your marriage? Love yourself, each other with your essence, and don't make room for the ego. And if ego creeps in, have talks about it. And please remember, we'll be right here waiting for you worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. This is Lillian McDermott and Mary Jo Rapini wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever. Good job. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The opinions and advice expressed on the Lillian McDermott radio show are intended for the individual callers and guests on the program and are presented to our wider audience solely for general educational purposes. Please act responsibly and consult personally with your own medical, psychological, or nutritional expert before taking any steps to